people think that, you have to be extraordinarily talented and have amazing connections, but believe it or not, anyone who's in showbiz or even like athletes or whatever, they'll tell you that it's maybe 5 to 10% talent and 90 to 95% hard work of getting up and doing it over and over and over and over again.
This is the How to Quit Working Show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working Show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello and welcome to the How to Quit Working Show. I am so excited about this show because we're going to be talking to Dan Nainan. Dan is despite what he says, he's a little bit self-effacing in this interview, but he's a very successful stand-up comedian. And I know a lot of folks think that getting into the entertainment industry is just a pipe dream. If you want to act, or if you want to become a stand-up comedian, or you want to be a singer, or songwriter, screenplay writer, or whatever it is, people just think that it's just never going to happen, and that if you pursue that, you're just wasting your time because it only happens to a lucky few. Well, Dan is one of those folks who's going to show us exactly how it can happen and can happen for anyone. So this is a great interview with Dan. Before we jump into that, I just want to remind everybody that we've got this great place where you can go and you can continue this conversation after the show's over, talk to other people just like you who want the same things out of life, make some friends, have some good conversation, get some support, encouragement, and feedback, all that great stuff, because, statistically, you're probably not getting that in your everyday life from your friends and family. So go over and get that in the How to Quit Working group on Facebook. You can get there by going to howtoquitworking.com/group. Again, that's howtoquitworking.com/group. Now, without any further ado, let's talk to Dan Nainan. Dan, welcome to the show.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So glad to have you here, Dan. A lot of folks, they're working full-time jobs and they want to do something like maybe in the entertainment industry. And,
absolutely.
Well, and I think that a lot of folks believe that getting into the entertainment industry is something that you just can't do unless you're like super, super lucky, or you have some connections, or you have some friends or family, or something just really like, or you go on America's Got Talent or American Idol or something like that. But you have actually made it happen.
Well, I think that that's a common misconception. People think that, you have to be extraordinarily talented and have amazing connections, but believe it or not, anyone who's in showbiz or even like athletes or whatever, they'll tell you that it's maybe 5 to 10% talent and 90 to 95% hard work of getting up and doing it over and over and over and over again.
Wow,
it's amazing.
5% talent and 95% hard work.
Exactly. I think anyone who tells you, and you ask anybody who's made it big, and not that I have, but I'm talking about like the really famous, the politicians or whatever. I think that you would get them all to agree with that statement.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about your story. You are a senior something or other at some big boring company.
Well, yeah, I was an senior engineer at Intel. The chip company, the itty-bitty chip company, as we used to call it. And my job was to travel the world with the executives and do technical demos on stage. And, of course...
How do you demonstrate a microchip on stage?
Well, yeah, that's a challenge. And so what we had to do is, since we were building faster and faster chips, the challenge was to try to demonstrate applications that would take up a lot of processing power.
Okay.
We wouldn't be showing stuff like Microsoft Word or Excel, but we would be showing things like, 3D rendering or, multi-million record databases or voice dictation or, graphics like games. Gaming is a huge aspect of computing that takes up a lot of processing power. So we would do demos, and my job was to come up on stage and, do demonstrations of the technology. We would spend weeks building the demos in the lab and then ship them, and then we would travel all over the world. And so that tech part was pretty easy since I'm half Indian and half Japanese. In fact, I said when I interviewed at Intel, they said, "You're Indian and Japanese. You don't even have to interview. You could be vice president." You know. And but the tough part was speaking on stage in front of thousands of people, and it could be at GSM World in, say, Cannes, France, or it could be a distributors conference in Phuket, Thailand, all over the world, and I had to do something to get over the fear of speaking. So I thought, there's a comedy class being offered in the area, and I thought, let me try and do comedy because I've always wanted to do that, and people have always said I'm funny, and I think it'd be a way to get over the fear of speaking. And I've always believed that if you want to do something difficult, if you do something even more difficult, then the difficult thing will become easier. So not only do you have to make people laugh, not only do you have to speak on stage, you also have to make people laugh, so it's doubly difficult.
Indeed. Cool. So you took the comedy class. Did that help you?
It did. It was amazing because, in the beginning, you just have no clue what you're doing, and you don't realize that if you get a couple of laughs in a comedy class with 15 people, that could translate into hundreds of people laughing in a theater of 2,000. So, there's a lot of, the only thing that you discover later is you look back and you go, oh, okay, so that's what the truth is, or that's how it works. But you only do this after years and years. Do you realize, what's going on in the beginning? And you think in the beginning, oh, I'm doing terribly, but then you realize you're doing not so badly. And it's like anything else. You just have to do it over and over and over and get up and not be afraid. And if you have a bad show, get up and do it again, which is exactly what I did.
You kept doing it over and over again, but eventually the Intel thing wasn't working for you.
Yeah, what happened was I got promoted to a job on purpose. I asked for a raise and a promotion to a job in New York City because I knew I had to be in New York. And by the way, I loved my job at Intel, and I was traveling the world in first class and eating in the same restaurants and staying in the same hotels as the executives. But I really wanted something more, so I asked for a promotion to a totally unrelated, different job in New York, totally stationary job, and because I knew I had to get to New York or LA, and that's where you really have to be if you're serious about this. I got the job. I moved to New York. I hated the job. It was just nothing like my previous job. No travel, no geeking out with technology, no speaking on stage. So I lasted a year and left after a year.
Interesting. So, but the reason that you requested the transfer, the promotion to New York, was so that you could get to where you needed to be for to develop your next career in comedy, right?
Exactly. The San Francisco and the Bay Area comedy scene is actually a very, very good one, very excellent, very, very thriving scene, but it's nothing like New York or LA. And if you want to get into acting and commercials and TV and film and whatever, you essentially have to be in New York or LA if you're serious.
Okay, cool. So I always try to pull out what are the things the really interesting, unique, and creative things that people do while they're in their career to facilitate their transition. So you said you lasted there for about a year. Then what happened?
Well, and I just decided, I mean, if I want to be serious, I've got to try to pursue this full time. Now, I didn't come from this like many people, where what you call the starving artist, where I went into this with no money at all. And I think that's the thing. If you want to transition into an entertainment career, I think you really need to have a nest egg, and that is something that I was fortunate enough to have. And so I just decided, hey, it's time. I've got some money to back me up, and I just said I'm going to go for it.
Cool. So you resigned from Intel. What?
And everyone thought I was insane for doing
absolutely,
so.
Absolutely. I'm actually thinking you sound a little bit insane as I'm thinking, even though this is the How to Quit Working show. But so you had a great, good paying job. You're in New York, one of the most expensive places in the world to live.
Right.
What happened that first day?
Well, I was like, what have I done? Right.
Yeah.
and see, here's the thing. The thing is the easy thing to do. The easy thing to do is to stay in your full-time job, and you will get a lot of people telling you that you're crazy. and you shouldn't do this, and it's so difficult, and trying to make money in comedy is impossible, but then, well, there are people who did it and they were successful, and there's an interesting psychology that someone told me, is that when someone is discouraging you from doing something, it may be because they themselves are afraid to do what you're doing, and they're validating their decision to stay in a full-time job by telling you not to do what you want to do. Right? It's like, well, okay, I made a bad choice, therefore I'm reinforcing it by discouraging you from doing what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And you can't listen to those people.
Exactly. So did you have a lot of those people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my boss said I was crazy, and, I was dating someone at the time who was, very against the idea, and she just didn't want to have anything to do with me after I left my job, because I could just tell that, she thought, oh, this guy's not going to be steadily employed, and therefore he has no value. And, she ended up like dating and marrying a guy who had a typical boring job. And now she sees me like traveling the world and driving a Tesla, and, she's like so envious. And I have to tell you, it kind of feels it feels good.
I can imagine, that's like from the dating standpoint, that's like the weeding out process. Like what a good thing that she showed her true colors when she did.
Exactly. But, the rank and the file, I mean, people just, 99% of people want to do what everyone else does and take the safe route. And that's what they want to do. That's great. But there are ways, and, if you have some time, I can tell you there are ways where you could keep your full-time job and pursue your entertainment career, and be successful.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of what your advice is for somebody that wants to pursue an entertainment career while they are still working. Because many people, as you made a really good point, Dan, in that you got to have that nest egg, really, for no matter what kind of transition you're doing. But a lot of people aren't going to have that. So I think maybe to talk a little bit about pursuing it while you're still working would be a great help for our listeners.
I think there are two things that you need to save if you want to do this. One is time, of course. The other is money. It's sort of a cliche, but it's true. The time standpoint is this. People say, oh, I have a full-time job. I want to be, let's say, a movie director or a dancer or a comedian or a musician, but I just don't have time to pursue that craft. And here's the thing. The average American watches over 32 hours of television a week. Okay, that's more than 4 hours a day. I mean, that's almost another full-time job, right? And so that's 32 hours or more. And then the average person feels a lot of peer pressure to go out and get wasted on Friday and Saturday nights because that's what their friends are doing. So let's say you go out from, 9 p.m. till last call at 3 a.m., and that's 6 hours, and then you're hungover all next day, so there's 18 hours of time that's lost because you're hungover, and then you rinse and repeat, and you do it again on Saturday night, and Sunday's gone, and the next thing you know, you have to kind of stumble into work on Monday. Now, between the TV and going out and getting drunk, we're talking 80 hours a week, which is 2 full-time jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're really dedicated, you can stay home and work on your songs or your poems or your movies, and, people are going to see you as a nerd and well, why can't you come out? And and you have to socialize, but you can't be a total hermit, but at the same time, if you spend all your time doing that, then you won't have time to pursue your craft. And pursuing a craft like this requires, hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of practice before you get good enough to make a living at it.
Sure. Well, the advice you give to not watch TV and to not go out, not only does it save time, it saves money as well, right?
Oh, yeah. It's, when you buy alcohol, at a club or whatever, it's like 90% margin. You have a $15 drink. It only costs the proprietor maybe, $1 or $2 to make that pour, right? And I'm like, if you must drink, I would say drink at home, And so, you save the time and the money and pursue your craft and work on it because, it does require a lot of work to do creative stuff because it's very competitive. There's a lot of people. There's extremely low pay or no pay in the beginning. And, Jerry Seinfeld said, you have to work for years at it to get good enough to get paid. That's true.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Dan, tell us what's your life like now? You're doing this comedian thing full time, and you're traveling all over. Tell us a little bit about kind of what things are like for you.
Well, there's two distinct types of days. There are the days where I have shows, and then the days where I do not have shows. A show day is very typical. I get on the subway, I get to the airport, I sit in the lounge, the Sky Club, and then I get to board the plane before everyone else, just like on that movie with George Clooney called Up in the Air.
Now, why do you get to board the plane before everybody else?
Well, see, here's the thing. If you travel enough, and I'm doing like 250,000 miles a year, if you travel enough with one airline, then you start to gain elite status, and then you'll get on first. You get to sit in first class for free.
Excellent.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Even on the cheapest tickets, I'm always in first, and you get to cut in front of everybody, and you get the I don't drink, but you get open bar on the plane, and you get the pampering and the yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, by the flight attendant, and you meet, you rub elbows with like the rich and famous, even though I'm poor and unknown, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So then I land, I pick up the rental car. If I can't take public transportation, which I always try to do, I pick up the rental car, go to the hotel, check in, take a nap, do the show, hang out, sign autographs, sell books and DVDs and CDs, network, try to get more work, and then get on the plane the next day and fly home. That's a work day.
Okay.
And that's about 80 days a year, maybe 100. And then on a non-work day, it's doing stuff like this, like interviews with media or email, trying to get more work, marketing, writing jokes, of course, developing materials, sorting the jokes into a set, a ton of travel arrangements. Right now I'm booking my travel to India. I have a tour of India coming up and possibly Pakistan. Working out, eating right, and not too much socializing, but once in a while.
Well, very, very cool. So it sounds like when you're not performing, you're spending a lot of time marketing and actually getting booked. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that you use, techniques, methods. How do you find places to perform?
Well, I'll tell you, this is where the computer knowledge from Intel has come in real handy, because I was one of the first people who uploaded a video to YouTube, and my one video has like 1.4 something million hits.
Oh, wow.
And that video is responsible for getting me booked just around the world. And I literally, if I wanted to, I could just sit here and do nothing, and then the calls and the emails would come in. But I'm very proactive and using social media and technology. I edit all my videos, or like, for example, I've got a CD and a DVD. I will edit those and then send them to the manufacturer to get them pressed, in units of 1,000. I have a book, that's all done online. I notice you have a fantastic, it looks like an amazing book.
Thank you.
I can't wait to check it out and download that. And then glad handing and meeting people, and it's just kind of just this huge. It's like, I'm my own business, and it's basically just, there's 80 different things I do. Right now I'm trying to sort through video because I'm trying to put together a sizzle reel for a reality show. I'm trying to pitch about what I do. There's 50 million things. I just heard this morning on one of the airline blogs I follow that there's a fare of $258 to Maui from Oakland. And, of course, that's an amazing fare, so I had to drop everything and book that, So you never know what's coming down the pike,
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool, good stuff. Well, what I thought was interesting about, now, you've kind of said a couple of things like, oh, you're not very well known and, things like that, but I actually, that's not what it looks like from just Googling you, right? You've performed with and along stage next to and for some pretty significant people, including President Barack Obama,
Donald
Trump, Hillary Clinton. I know I've seen all kinds of
really nice guy.
Cool. I've seen a lot of so you've done some really, really big and pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Here's the thing: a lot of people don't understand. People think that that comedy or entertainment in general is very much like a third world country where you have the very, very rich and the very, very poor and no middle class. But the truth of it is that it's possible to make a decent living at this and not be, a household name. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of comedians who are making a great living. They're working on cruise ships or they're working at corporate events. I have a friend who does 200 corporate events a year, makes $15,000 a gig, which is $3 million. So
wow.
Yeah. It's possible to make a pretty good, upper middle class living at this without being famous. But of course, that's something that we're all striving for is to where we could make $1 million a show and have a sitcom and, like Louis or Chris Rock or Seinfeld. That's what we are ultimately striving for.
Sure. Well, so once someone has kind of developed their craft, once they've probably done like a lot of free shows and they've done a lot of practicing in front of the mirror and whatever it is that you do to get really good, what's the first step someone would take if they were interested in becoming a comedian? What's really the first thing that you would do to start going from, okay, now I know I'm really good, to, okay, maybe I need to start getting paid for this?
Well, I think the first thing you should do is if one wants to become a comedian specifically is to take a class, because the other alternative is to go to open mics. And there's a number of reasons, and it's kind of lengthy, but there's about 4 or 5 reasons why open mics don't work very well. And people will go to those and say, I didn't do well. I don't have a talent for this, so I better not do it. I'm not good enough. But that is not true. So I started with a class. I still take a class here in New York from a phenomenal teacher, even though I've been doing it for over 10 years. I still go to the same class every time I'm off the road in town. So I think going to a class is the way to start. Then when you get good enough to where you think you might be able to get a good videotape, you go to a club. A lot of clubs will require that you bring people in order to perform. Those are called bringer shows.
Okay.
And a lot of, I guess artists, comedians are really angry about that, but that's sort of an economic necessity because they need to fill seats. So they can say to a comedian, okay, I can give you 7 minutes on this stage, but you have to bring 10 people to see you who pay, $20 a piece. And it is sort of a sleazy way to get audience, but it's sort of an economic necessity. So if you go and you do that show, invite your 10 people, and then have them support you. And then if you have a really great tape, and you've got to make sure you videotape that, put that tape out on YouTube, send it to people. In the past, before the technology, before YouTube, you'd have to physically make the tapes and distribute them to people and hope they would watch them. But now you can post them online and have potentially billions of people see your stuff. And if it's really good, it will get forwarded and go viral, like mine did, and you can get booked from that.
Excellent. What, Dan, what does success mean to you?
I think success means being happy with what you're doing every day. I think a lot of people in comedy and show business in general feel that they'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I get a sitcom, or I'll be happy when I'm making $25,000 a show. But I think what can happen to a lot of people is they're thinking too much about the future and they're not concentrating on today. And I think it's really important to see every day as a gift and make the most of it. And, there's no way to know if one is going to become a big famous comedian. And so I think that, as the days and months and years pass, you have to look back and say, you know what, I just had like the best time I could, and I did not worry too much about the future, and I ate right, and I worked out, and I was healthy, and I had great relationships, and, I did my best. I think happiness is just being happy every day, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. There's some days when I'm stuck, in cold cities or in Detroit or, Chicago or Cleveland, and people would be like, this is so depressing, or on a cruise ship. I hear people like, oh, I'm so bored, I'm on a cruise ship, or I'm stuck in a condo and there's 7 hours until the show and I have nothing to do. I think you've got to be happy wherever you are.
Be happy wherever you are. What great advice.
I agree.
What's the most important piece of advice that you'd want to leave with somebody who is working a full-time job and would like to do something different?
I would say that time is the most important factor. Is, don't waste time. If you're really serious about doing something in entertainment, then take the class, get the materials you need, work on it. Start an hour a day, watch an hour a day less of TV, and work on whatever it is, the poems or the movies or whatever, the songs, and just kind of increase it little, or maybe start with 5 minutes a day, and then the next day work on your craft for 6 minutes, and then by the end of, I'd say, 2 months, you'll be doing it an hour. Just little by little make the changes. When you're watching TV, as a friend of mine says, you're watching people who love what they're doing and getting paid millions of dollars. And which side of the glass do you want to be on? The side of the millions watching passively, or the side of all the people who are having fun and making money? So watch less, and believe in yourself. Do not be discouraged. If you have even a remote amount of talent, you can be successful. And there will be times when you'll be discouraged and you'll want to quit. I had 2 or 3 shows in my life which I just totally bombed. And I can guarantee you that anybody like Seinfeld or Chris Rock or Louis C.K., all of them have had horrible shows. Every comedian has. And, there's nobody who has just done so well at every show. You go along and you have 4 or 5 great shows, then you have one. And a lot of people quit at that point. And I almost quit. And I shudder to think how my life would be different if I had quit. I had a horrible experience my second class. My first class, everybody was laughing at my jokes. My second class, no one laughed at anything. I was so bummed, and I came that close to quitting. And so stick with it, even if you have a bad experience. And I think you also need to recognize, if you don't have a talent for something, and you try and try, and you just have no talent, no one thinks you're good, maybe it's time to try something else.
Be willing to adapt and change.
Exactly, to pivot. As there have been so many companies in Silicon Valley that started out as one thing, and then they got no success. Nobody was interested, and then they changed to a different business model, and they went bonkers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Wells Fargo, like the largest bank in the U.S., maybe the world, they started out as a courier company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not many
really?
people know that, but yeah, they had nothing to do with banking when they started out. So definitely an indication that pivoting is something that successful companies do all the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Delta Airlines started out as a crop dusting company.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of stories like that. Well, great advice, Dan. Before we wrap it up, I gotta ask you one thing, because I went to your website and I watched the video that went viral, which I'm going to link up below. It was awesome. You bill yourself as 100% clean comedian, so you don't cuss in your act, which I think is great, because I think way too many entertainers just use that as a crutch. But you also have a clip on your website of Barack Obama, the President of the United States, who I don't hear cuss very much, actually using the F word in a good way to describe your act. Now, how can you, as a clean comedian, actually get a very clean-cut individual to say the F word?
Well, that's a little bit of a creative license that I've taken. What happened was, if you watch that very carefully, what he's saying is Dan is hilarious. And so he was actually about to say funny, but he said hilarious instead. Right. But, I'm taking a little bit of artistic license, and at the bottom of my email it says, click here to hear President Obama say Dan is effing hilarious. So I've actually thought about putting a beep in there, to make it more realistic. But, because you see, the thing is, if that's at the bottom of my email, people are going to, I've got to click that. That can't be right. And sure enough, it looks like he's saying that.
It really does.
Yeah, but when in fact he just said Dan is hilarious, because he was about to say funny. It's classic. I was very fortunate for that to happen.
That was very, very cool. That's definitely a good attention grabber for sure. Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing all the amazing advice, the hard-earned advice that you've learned over the years, and congratulations on much success, and I look forward to seeing what amazing things you do next.
Thank you so kindly for your time. It's again a pleasure to be here, and I cannot wait to check out the book How to Quit Working by yours, not yours truly, I guess mine truly, which would be you, right?
Absolutely, I'll send you a copy.
All right, so that would be fantastic. Thank you kindly.
Only 5% talent and 95% just pure persistence. There you have it from Dan Nainan. It doesn't matter what you want to do. If it's in the entertainment industry, if you want to become a stand-up comedian, an actor, a screenplay writer, or you just want to start like your own graphic design firm, or you want to start some other kind of business, lawn mowing, it doesn't matter what it is. All you have to do is stick to it. And trust me, I've seen that in my life, in my career, with my colleagues. I've seen it time and time again. It's just about sticking with it. There's nothing magic. There's no secret. There's no special button that you can press to make it easy. You just have to stick with it. And in order to stick with it, you have to want it, and you have to want it a whole lot. So if you want it and you want it a whole lot, and you want somebody there with you to help encourage you and cheer you on as you go along, as well as provide 16 years, I think over 16 years of experience starting businesses, go to howtoquitworking.com/coaching and reach out to Heather Osgood, the How to Quit Working coach, and see if she can help you to quit your job and start an amazing business. And speaking of quitting your job and starting an amazing business, next time we're going to talk to another amazing entrepreneur who has done just that. And until then,
thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.